After confirming that the remote control stick directions match the helicopter's feedback direction correctly, begin swashplate leveling. Swashplate leveling tutorial. The item I am holding is a swashplate leveling tool. Select Zero Thrust Collection in the Manual Servo Mode option. From the perspective of the helicopter's main frame, the swashplate leveling tool can be placed underneath the swashplate. If the space under the swashplate is too small to insert the leveling tool, you can raise the swashplate by modifying parameters through the software. Note: checked options indicate reverse direction. To raise the swashplate, increase the value for unchecked options. For checked options, reverse direction, decrease the value. Now, let me demonstrate how to raise the swashplate by 100 units. Modify the value of the first option to 1525. The second option is checked reverse, so modify its value to 1405. Modify the value of the third option to 1650. Observe the changes in the helicopter's swashplate. Click Confirm. The swashplate is now raised. Install the swashplate leveling tool. Remove the screws from the leveling tool. Place the leveling tool over the main shaft, positioning it at the bottom of the swashplate, then snap it into place. Secure it by tightening the screws to clamp onto the main shaft. Do not tighten the screws fully. Push the leveling tool up against the swashplate so that it makes firm contact, and then tighten the screws. The swashplate's vertical position is controlled by 3 servos. We need to adjust the parameters of these 3 servos via the computer so that the swashplate becomes parallel to the leveling tool. So that the swashplate becomes parallel to the leveling tool or there is no gap between them. If the swashplate and the leveling tool are parallel or have no gap, it indicates the swashplate is level. You can use your phone's light to check if the swashplate and the leveling tool are parallel. Left, right gap adjustment. Using the phone's light, we can observe that the gap on the right side of the helicopter is larger. The right side corresponds to servo 2. The parameter for servo 2 has a check mark reverse. To reduce the gap, we need to increase its value. Continuously modify the parameter, observing the left, right gap with your phone's light, until the gaps on both sides are even. Front, rear gap adjustment. Observing the front-rear gap, we can see that the gap at the rear is larger. Therefore, we need to lower the rear servo to reduce the gap. The rear servo is servo 3. Decrease the value for servo 3. Continuously modify the parameter, observing the front, rear gap with your phone's light, until the gaps on both sides are even. You can now observe that the swashplate and the leveling tool are flush at the front, rear, and left, right, This indicates the swashplate and the leveling tool are parallel. Note, each time you debug, increase or decrease the parameter value by 10 to 20 points. Then observe, avoid making overly large adjustments. After the swashplate is leveled, remove the leveling tool. Next step, 0-point adjustment. Prepare the tool, pitch gauge. Install the main blades on the helicopter. Position one blade pointing directly towards the front of the helicopter. Position the other blade pointing directly towards the rear. Using the pitch gauge, turn on the pitch gauge, place it flat on the table. It will show a reading. The pitch gauge measures the angle of inclination. Before measuring, the reading must be zeroed, calibrated. Find a surface that is perpendicular to the main shaft as shown in the video. Place the pitch gauge on that helicopter surface to perform zero calibration. Attach the pitch gauge fixture to a main blade. Ensure the main blades are pointing directly forward and rearward. After calibrating the pitch gauge, do not move the helicopter. This is because the work surface may not be perfectly level. Once the pitch gauge is zeroed, please do not move the helicopter arbitrarily.